Welcome to this explainer. I'm really glad you're here. Let's talk about the real battlefield of trading. When you first open a chart, it's so easy to think the fight is against the market, right? Against those numbers blinking red and green. But it's really not. The true battlefield? It's entirely inside your own mind. This whole journey is about self-mastery. And as someone who's been exactly where you are, I want to walk you through the exact emotional phases every single one of us has to conquer.
Because look, every trader starts out in the exact same place. You're deeply excited, maybe a little scared, and honestly, completely unprepared for the emotional roller coaster that's about to hit. Which brings us to a really crucial question you've got to ask yourself right now. Are you playing the market, or is your mind actually playing you? Before you even place a single trade, your brain is already spinning a very specific narrative about what trading is supposed to be like.
And that leads us straight into phase one, the trap of easy money. Believe me, it's a dangerous illusion. We have this fantasy of quick riches, right? You just click a button, lean back, and watch the cash pile up. But compare that to the reality of professional trading. That fantasy completely ignores one simple, kind of brutal truth. Real trading is boring. It's highly repetitive. It's mostly about sitting on your hands and waiting for the absolute right moment. Buying into that dream of quick riches is literally the very first trap that will throw you off course.
So here's exactly how that trap springs shut. You'll inevitably get that first win. You make a quick $100 and suddenly you feel like an absolute genius who has finally cracked the code. It's intoxicating, but this false confidence is super dangerous. It tricks you into thinking you're special, that the standard rules just don't apply to you. But take it from a mentor who has learned the hard way, the market absolutely loves to humble overconfident beginners. Which brings us to phase two, the amygdala hijack. This is where your survival brain takes the wheel. See, when a trade finally goes against you, and it will, fear arrives and you just freeze. This heart-pounding paralysis, it's formally called an amygdala hijack, and understanding this psychological concept is vital for every serious student of the market. Your heart is pounding in your chest, you literally can't click the mouse. What's actually happening is your survival brain has completely overwritten your rational brain. You aren't an analytical trader anymore, you're just a human being responding to a perceived life or death threat. We all face this moment.
And once that survival instinct kicks in, man, the downward spiral accelerates fast. Fear sets in, which leads to frantic action to try and recover the loss. Next thing you know, it's 2 a.m., and you're frantically overtrading. But let me tell you, this never works. This kind of behavior is just gambling with a fancy interface. The more you trade in this panic state, the more you lose because exhaustion just wrecks your decision-making. And then, boom, it happens. The big loss arrives, and your account is completely cut in half.
Sitting there staring at that screen with your account halved, you're going to feel shame, anger, maybe even a deep sense of hopelessness. And a lot of traders just throw in the towel right here. But remember this profound truth from our explainer sources. Quitting isn't failure, staying broken is. This terrible low point, this rock bottom, it's actually the best teacher you're ever going to have if you're just willing to listen to what it's trying to tell you.
So let's take a breath and step into phase three, taking radical responsibility. This is the real turning point. This is the awakening phase. This is where you have to stop blaming market manipulation or the whales for your losses. Sure, blaming the market feels really good in the moment. It protects your ego. But it also keeps you entirely powerless. The realization that you cannot change the market and that you can only change yourself is the actual defining turning point in your journey from novice to master. The market is going to do whatever the market is going to do. Your only real control is over your own reaction. To actually move forward, you have to look in the mirror and painfully, but freely, admit, I am the problem. It's not the charts, it's not the news cycle, and it's definitely not your broker. Your own fear, your own greed, and your own lack of discipline caused those losses. Look, I know this honest admission hurts. It's a really tough pill to swallow. But once you accept it, it's incredibly freeing. Why? Because it means the power to fix it is entirely in your own hands.
Now we're ready for phase four, building the discipline muscle. Let's get you some tools for survival.
All right, time to arm you with some highly practical tools. First up, start a detailed trading journal. No more guessing. Every single trade, every emotion you felt, every mistake you made, it all goes in here. By tracking this, you're turning emotional chaos into cold, hard data. You'll actually start discovering highly specific, sometimes slightly amusing insights, like maybe you realize you always seem to lose on Tuesdays right after your second cup of coffee. That kind of self-awareness is absolute gold.
Next is the absolute golden rule of risk management. Never, ever risk more than 2% of your account on a single trade. This 2% rule becomes your shield. It's not about being afraid to trade, right? It's about surviving to trade another day. Because true professionals, they don't think in terms of one big lucky win. They think in terms of hundreds of trades over time. You have to preserve your capital to stay in the game.
Here's another technique I want you to practice. Before any trade, I want you to implement the 30-second pause rule. Just stop, breathe, and wait half a minute. I know it sounds almost too simple, but in that 30-second pause, the fear literally begins to dissolve and your rational clarity comes back online. This one simple habit will save your account time and time again, I promise you.
Now, consider the psychological law of trading focus. If your focus is bad, you're constantly agonizing over how much did I make? But if your focus is good, you're asking yourself, did I follow my rules perfectly? When you shift your focus to executing the process flawlessly, the money naturally follows. But if you're desperately chasing the money itself, it's just going to run away from you.
You also need to install some behavioral circuit breakers. Walking away from the screen when you're emotional is a total superpower. When revenge trading whispers to you to just get it all back in one trade, you need to recognize that that's just fear wearing a mask of anger. So walk away, make some tea, go for a walk. Furthermore, practice just 5 minutes of meditation a day. Just watching your breath trains the exact mental muscle you need to simply observe an emotion without instantly acting on it. And in trading, that is the entire game.
And that brings us to our final stage, Phase 5, the ultimate transformation, choosing process over profit.
Because when you finally shift from profit chasing to process following, absolutely everything changes. Think of discipline like lifting weights. Every single day, you lift the heavy, daily weight of your rules, honoring stop losses, journaling, managing your position size. Some days it feels incredibly heavy, but then you begin to stack small, consistent wins. We're not talking massive profits here, but days where you followed the plan perfectly. You literally put green stickers on your calendar. And after months of seeing this visual proof of your growth, discipline requires absolutely no effort. It just automatically becomes your identity.
And then, one day you look in the mirror and you see a completely resilient trader who truly trusts themselves. You have this unshakable self-trust. You know you can handle losses because you realize they're just the cost of doing business. You know you can patiently wait for the perfect setup without panicking. That kind of unshakable self-trust, it's infinitely more valuable than any fleeting winning streak.
Ultimately, the patience, the clear-headed risk assessment, and the emotional control you've built up here won't just stay at your trading desk. They're going to make you a calmer partner, a better parent, and a much more resilient human being in all aspects of your life. Trading, in the end, really isn't about the money. It's about who you have to become to succeed. The market is waiting for you. So, let me ask you, are you ready to become someone you're proud of?